A trio of Warhammer 40k characters out today. We've got Lionel Johnson, Boss Snikrot, and Commander Farsight coming out this week, and we have their pricing. Let's talk about the miniatures, the cost, and how they do in game. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today I thought we'd cover Games Workshop's character releases this week. Seems that we have the return of 3 miniatures that came out in sort of slightly annoying limited edition box sets at the time. Quite a few people struggled to get their hands on these that wanted to, so it's kind of nice that they're actually returning for full general release. Lionel Johnson in particular, who's been in demand for quite a long time, ever since the box set of his nice new miniatures sold out in literally minutes. These guys were announced to be coming back by Games Workshop just yesterday. As with their normal pre-order structure, the pre-orders will go live at around about 10 AM local time on Saturday the 8th of July normally, with a full release for the 15th of July the week after that. I feel like Lionel Johnson's certainly going to be the one that people are going to be keeping an eye on just to see whether or not they do actually manage to land this one. I'd hope if they're finally actually getting round to releasing him properly, he's not just going to sell out instantly immediately, but who knows with Games Workshop. It does sound like they've been devoting really quite a lot of their time and production efforts to making things that are around the 10th edition release, and the line was perhaps surprisingly underproduced as a result. Hopefully they do have enough coming though, and have enough supply for everyone to get their hands on one who wants one. Let's talk through them each individually with their prices in a second. Just to mention, if you were thinking about picking them up and wanted to try and get them a little bit cheaper, Element Games in the UK has them at 15% off, and Gap Games in Australia has them around 20% off. Both tend to at least have reasonable supplies of new releases, though Games Workshop can in the past be a little bit variable with how much they send to third-party retailers. In any case though, whether you're looking for new pre-orders or something else Warhammer related, both of those are links down in the video description, and as well as saving a decent chunk of money over Games Workshop's prices, they do help out Warspecs Tactics a little bit with a small amount of the profits, though they cost absolutely no extra to use via the links. Feel free to check out the video description if you're interested in them. Getting on to the miniatures themselves though, first up we've got Lionel Johnson, £42.50, €55 or $70, basically the same price as Gilliman, so no really major surprises there. I feel like it's actually quite nice that Games Workshop have decided to release a shiny new model and keep the pricing structure of the old one. In reality they probably could charge more for these Primarchs and people would still buy them. Certainly worked when he was £65, so hopefully they don't cotton on to this too fast. In any case, it is kind of nice they're not arbitrarily inflating the price just because it's a shiny new miniature over and above Gilliman. I feel like for that price a lot of people will quite happily pick him up. He is a very nice characterful miniature and really quite a big figure in the Warhammer 40k lore just full stop, for the cost of creating a completed 2000 point Warhammer 40k army as well. He does have a very good points per dollar ratio when he's 380 points. If you manage to get 5 points per dollar out of Games Workshop, then usually you're doing really quite well, and he's slightly above that. As mentioned, he did sell out very quickly when he was packaged with the Blade Guard veterans, literally in minutes. In hindsight, it looks like that kit was a small discount on the Line and Blade Guard combined. They're not exactly massive by Games Workshop standards. The Blade Guard definitely felt like kind of arbitrary includes there to just sell more miniatures. They are pretty nice models, but the inclusion just felt very arbitrary in with the Lion. It was kind of interesting that Games Workshop actually said in a previous post that we're going to be waiting on the release of Lionel Johnson a bit, as they wanted to ensure that they actually had enough supply that people would actually be able to buy him when he went on full sale, and they didn't just have a repeat of last time. I guess that and 10th edition might well be part of the reason why he's been a bit delayed, longer than you might expect him to have between a limited kit and a full release. Really hope they do manage to produce enough this time, and there aren't a whole load of people in a queue in the web store that just get disappointed. I still think he's going to be in very high demand this time round. The model's very cool, lots of people didn't manage to get their hands on him last time round, and in 10th edition he's actually got genuinely quite good rules in game as well. Rather than being surprisingly easy to kill, the Emperor's Shield now gives him that 3+ invulnerable save and a -1 to wound against everything. Very hard to take down with Lone Operative, and also he fights first if you charge him in combat as well, so he's likely to do a whole ton of damage before you even get to hit him. Otherwise though, for the Force of the Tower we've got Commander Farsight, £40, €55 or $65. I feel like while the line does seem to be a fairly good deal for the price, at least by Games Workshop standards, Farsight is perhaps a bit more than I might have hoped for. I do really like the miniature, I think they've done very well with it. It looks pretty cool and dynamic and seems to be channeling some samurai vibes there. I quite like what they did with the base being a bit more creative with that though, having some trees and blossoms on it. I think that's quite a fun contrast versus the battlesuit armour. Still though, really quite a steep price for any one character miniature I think, even if it is a somewhat big one as is in the battlesuit. It's significantly pricier than Shadowstone at £32.50, and slightly more than the Cold Star Commander who's £37.50. Farsight maybe had a similar sort of release to the Lion, coming out in Boarding Patrol Tau, which again sold out really quite quickly, as it was quite a nice selection of models in the first place. In game in 10th edition, I think he packs a reasonable combat punch for 120 points. I guess you have to weigh him up against any battlesuit commander for the individual squad he's leading as well, plus he also precludes taking ethereals in your army as well, as he famously doesn't get on with them quite so much. I quite like the way that he can also use the tank shock stratagem as well, now battlesuit's got the vehicle keyword too. Means that if he charges in, he can have a bunch of bonus mortal wounds for 1 CP on top of his regular damage. Finally, for the character releases, we've also got Boss Snikrot of the Orcs. He's a bit more in line with Games Workshop's character prices that they normally have at £25, €32.50, or $40. That's similar to other slightly more chunky character miniatures that Games Workshop tend to come out with, things like Space Marine Captains or, say, the Death Guard Lord of Virulence. I still think that Games Workshop does charge a fairly high amount for character models. It's still a lot for any one infantry figure, albeit a really nice one. I thought it was quite nice that they decided to get round to updating him, given that he was one of the miniatures that got range rotators due to having an older model in Finecast. I think it would have been a shame to have him lost from the game for good, as happened with a few other Finecast models that were rotated, say for example Commissar Yarrick from Armageddon. His miniature is at least fairly similar to his previous one, still wielding his dual blackened blades of Mork's teeth. He's also acquired himself a smoke bomb for the base, which I think is optional and he could leave it off if he didn't want it. In-game is 105 points, and seems to be generally considered pretty usable for orcs, though maybe not the most standout when it's ranked up alongside things like Squigosaur bosses. He'd be joining a squad of commandos and can forward or deploy really quite close to the enemy if they want to be threatening. In combat he fights with Mork's Teeth, a bunch of twin-linked Strength 6, AP 1 and Damage 2 attacks with a precision keyword, genuinely quite a big threat to certain characters. And he also does have a bit of a smoke bomb style trick where he can basically make his squad disappear from the board once per game and then come back via strategic reserve. I feel like perhaps his direct damage on a 4 deploy unit plus the covers may be the best things. Cover goes at least a bit further on Orky infantry models now they've got 5+ saves at least. Let me know what you make of these guys though. It certainly has been a very long time to wait for Lionel Johnson to actually get an individual plastic release. What do you make of the prices, and would you be tempted to pick up any of these 3 character miniatures from Games Workshop, and if so, which ones and why? If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming. I do tend to post new ones just about every day. I'll certainly aim to keep up with Games Workshop's news and rumours. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description below. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with the chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.